Leafs talk. JD Bunkis, Sam McKee. Leafs get their first win of the season, and it comes against Sheldon Keefe in the Keefe Bowl. How you feeling, buddy?
Good. Really enjoyed that game. Got to tell you,
Yeah.
I thought that the way they started to the way they kind of finished a little bit on the end of the periods weren't great, but outside of that, really enjoyed it. And yeah, the Keefe Bowl's great. Like it's if you're a Leaf fan and the way that things have gone over the past 4 years, 5 years with him behind the bench, this got to feel pretty good tonight. No.
Yeah. If I was Sheldon Keefe and co, I would be pretty pissed that the first game back from Europe was against the Leafs, right? Like you make the jet back from Czechia and your boys are feeling the jet lag. But if I'm the Leafs side of things, I go, we played a back-to-back and had our third string goalie in net. Like what else do you want, buddy? Seems like they kind of even it up. So I think both sides had excuses. So I think both sides have to throw out the excuses. And I will say, like, I don't have anything against Sheldon Keefe. Like I'm not angry at Sheldon Keefe. I actually think his apology, his firing video. It was kind of
just like this. He's just like, I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry.
Ultimate dad video out by the lake.
Leafs Nation.
Leafs
Nation.
I thought it was classy.
It was. I'm just poking fun.
I think the guy took a lot of accountability when he was here. He had to learn on the job. He had a good regular season record. I do think that he got out coached mostly in the postseason. I think he improved as a coach here. He gave some good media fodder. I think that he's a guy that pays a lot of attention to a lot of details and had to learn not to sweat some small stuff while evolving as a coach in the NHL. But it felt good to beat him, bro. Like
couldn't agree more. I was like, where are we going here? Land the plane.
When the Leafs look like there's a little moment, because let's be honest, you could break this game down into Leafs kicked their ass to start the game, right? Like they came out with some real jump. Robertson was just looking. Robertson might as well have skated by Keefe on the bench and just
double barred
him the entire time, just giving him the look. Made me scratch and score. The boys called me scratch and score because of you.
No stakes, Nick. You called me no stakes, Nick.
Yeah, they binged in 3 goals early. It looked like they were just going to kind of bury. It felt like it was going to be a Markstrom pull game. Leafs are just going to run away with it. It's going to be a bit of a laugher. Ugly end of period goals for this team pop up again. A little bit of a bad thing from the past. 2 bad goals. All of a sudden it's a hockey game. Leafs are taking bad penalties again. Could do a little bit of ref talk later, but all of a sudden it felt like maybe they could blow it. And you never want to see the team blow a lead, right? You want to see them play responsibly and feel like they can salt a game away. But the feeling I had of, oh my God, please don't let me see Keefe at the podium. Devils come back to win. I couldn't have it. I couldn't have it. So good for the Leafs for closing that one out and taking care of business.
Absolutely. I thought the way the Leafs came out and started this game was exactly how you need to start on the second half of a back-to-back in a first period, where you're like, well, we don't know how much energy we're going to have in the back half of this game, so we better jump on them early. And I thought it looked like what I think Berube hockey looks like in the first half of that first period, where the puck pursuit, the aggressiveness, just the heaviness in general, like those bottom 2 lines in that first period were unbelievable, man.
Yeah, they're looking great.
Nick Robertson, like you said, I've never there's maybe something to be said about this guy needing some inspiration in certain times, but that first period that he played, he was absolutely flying around. And that shift where he ends up setting Pacioretty up, it's all him.
Drives buzzing around, gains the entry.
Yeah, look at him. Look at him. He's just fighting for his life. If you're watching on YouTube, just grinding on every puck on that shift, firing every shot. Like he was desperate to pot one tonight. He ends up getting the helper, I think, on Pacioretty's goal. But yeah, like it's nice to see that the Leafs have a bottom half of their lineup here that seems like it can contribute. Like I love what I've seen from the fourth line through 2 games. I liked it even more having McMahon there tonight. It's a nice mix in that you can have Reeves play some nights when there's maybe a tough guy on the other team, maybe have McMahon mix in or whatever. Some Pacioretty needs a blow, however you want to do. Yeah. And it just feels like there's some depth here in the bottom 6 with different types of guys. That to me, through the first 2 games is something that's jumped out, not only in deployment, but just in effectiveness of the Leafs bottom six. They've looked gritty, man. They've looked like the right kind of bottom six.
You call them Team A, Team B. You guys have on your show for years, and it's completely right. And I'll be honest, when I first saw the lines, and I talked about it with Versteeg on my show today, I really didn't like the idea that they weren't spreading the talent around, that it was two big top lines, and then everybody fend for yourself in the bottom six. But the bottom six has been great so far. They've really looked like they've had an identity, as you mentioned, with the fourth line. I don't want to get too ahead of myself with the Lorentz thing, because he's looked phenomenal and he's absolutely been a story. But like, why can't that guy be Michael Bunting?
I don't know. He's bigger, that's for sure.
Like, why?
Bigger,
but what about his skill set so far suggests that like he couldn't be that? I'm not trying to disparage Bunting. I'm just saying that it wasn't like Bunting was coming over from Arizona with this unbelievable track record. It was the same thing. A local guy who signed a small deal, who played on the wing, who's not afraid to get in front of the net and who can bang home some goals. Like, why is that not a possibility for this team, that he can be a contributor? And then the Robertson thing, I think he improved his skating over the offseason. He's a pretty quiet guy. He usually goes back to California, does his own thing. I got to look into what exactly he was doing over the summer. But he looks quicker to me. And man, is it just so nice to have a guy in the bottom six who can carry the puck, who can transition the puck, who can carry some play and gain a zone, because that's what you saw with his value tonight, right? Is puck mover, guy who was going zone to zone, carrying it over into the offensive areas, like just created for others, looked like he had some zip to his game, looked like he has jumps to some game. He's doing a little bit of like a little Nylander impression tonight with the way that he was carrying the puck. I loved it. I think that looks great.
It's funny. You talk about the bottom six, and I think like the weakest link of the bottom six has been down the middle, which is crazy to say. Yeah. But it's like Holmberg hasn't given them anything. And you know, the play at the end of the first period where it's just get hard down on your stick and clear that puck. Don't shoot it right onto the guy's stick. Like you got to make a harder play there. You got in camp, and as far as stock down goes, like I don't know what his penalty killing has been over the past two games that they've played, but it feels like he's barely been out there for long. Like it's been a lot of Lorentz, it's been a lot of Matthews, been a lot of Marner, I don't know what.
You hear my theory on that?
No, let me have it.
Okay, so if he's not on the penalty kill, and he's making 2.5, and they got Dewar coming back, who is going to kill penalties, I actually think the Leafs are going to try and move off of a bunch of the money, because this is what people don't seem to understand with the Liljegren stuff is Liljegren is he likely better than Timmins? Yes, of course he's probably better than Timmins. He's just got a more complete game. Connor Timmins is whatever, but if you have Connor Timmins as your seventh defenseman making $1 million, who cares? You can't have Liljegren be your seventh defenseman making $3 million, right? Yeah. Like it's just not a thing. And same goes for David Kampf. If he is basically going to play at the same level of Dewar and Lorentz and Pontus Holmberg, you can't pay him an extra $1 million. So if you're the Leafs, you want to try and get off that money, accrue some cap space, and then get to the deadline with the assets that you have, and then try to address that center position, and then maybe your blue line at that point, if you do need to backfill for whatever it is that you lose with Liljegren. So that's where I'm at with it, is if he's not killing penalties right now, it's because this competition stuff that Berube is talking about and the Leafs have been basically funneling towards us as the motif of this season is actually a little bit more like a baseball spring training where they go, oh yeah, it's open competition, but really everybody's already made up their jobs and they already know the guys that are on the way out, and they're the dudes that are making the money, and you can clear up. I think they're 4.3 million over with all the guys healthy. And if you just do the math, they easily get under that number by clearing out Kampf and by clearing out Liljegren. So that's where I think they're going with it. And that's why I think you're seeing a diminished Kampf role.
And you talk about Kampf. It's a good theory. You talk about Kampf. You think he's just easily shipped out with that contract? To me, that doesn't seem like one that's necessarily the most enticing to somebody else. Okay. Well, we don't need to spend too much time on it.
Here's the thing.
Not too relevant.
Here's the thing. If you're not asking for much back, which they're not going to, and another team needs just a bottom six. Here, Kampf always stays healthy, doesn't miss games. Yeah. He's in terrific shape. He has proven that he can kill penalties before, and he can't teach 6'4" with that reach. I just don't think it'll be a problem getting off.
Can't teach those abs, buddy. Can't teach those abs.
Hooey. Don't get caught next to David Camp in a beach photo, fellas.
No.
Don't leave your girl next to David Camp, like in a tarps off situation. It is not going to go well for you.
So it's just to go back to my original point. It's just funny that you talk about how good this bottom six has been throughout the first two games, and like they have been, and the centers have probably been their two worst players. So the wings are putting in work, and like if you can, and we don't need to get into the Willie thing that we talked about on your podcast or the Leafs Talk preview with like the Willie playing center thing, but they're just screaming out for another center. And Holmberg to me would be a fine fourth line center, guy that's playing a little less, but right now he feels over. I don't know what the word I'm looking for here is. Miscast as that third line center. I'm not sure he's ready for that. So we don't need to focus on the negative and a loss, but I'd like the bottom six outside of the center play.
No, I'm like, listen, man, whatever. People can cry about it being negative all they want. I would say, though, that if they're really trying to do the competition thing and Berube's trying to feel like everybody's getting involved, I would say that based on the way the top line has looked so far and the Nylander line has looked so far, you should be willing to shake it up and move off of things. Like as good as 100%. The fourth line has looked, I'm okay with them trying Lorentz out in different spots and saying, hey, you're actually going to get some time with Marner and Matthews. Go up there and bang and go play some hard minutes and let Nyes fall down the lineup for a bit until he finds it. Nyes had a nice play in this game. I don't think he's been like poor by any stretch of the imagination.
He hammered Dougie Hamilton.
Yeah.
Hammered him. That was Marshawn Lynch against the Saints. That was unbelievable. That's a strong young man.
He's a very strong young man. And, he's trying to get a contract this year, but my point is not that like guys are playing poorly. I just like the idea of keeping that competition alive and letting players earn spots. And I know some people would push back that go be like, didn't you guys cry about Keefe putting the lines in the blender? Like, yeah, that was a completely different thing than what you're doing right now under a new head coach, where it's a bunch of players that are trying to prove themselves with him and figure out what kind of line matching that you can have early on in a regular season where you project to get a bunch of points and that you're trying to find out what is actually going to work here and what players might fit around your good guys and who gets other people going. So I hope we just see more of that. I hope they reward these guys for that play the way that they did tonight with the ice that they got.
And can I say that I would love to not have to watch Domi, Nylander, and Tavares much more. They scored a goal
Domi
tonight.
And Tavares hooked up for a pretty nice
They scored the goal tonight was wonderful, but like outside of that, I thought I don't know what the advanced pretty numbers are on them. Maybe they're good, maybe they're bad, but to my eye, I thought a lot of standing around in their own zone. Like it's just the three of them. None of them have a defensive bone in their body, and the three of them kind of enable each other. Hook up for a gorgeous goal here, so it's hard for me to say, but like I don't like the three of those together. To me, I want Domi up there with Matthews and Marner. It's something that's worked. It's something that Domi can play with those guys. He can pass to Matthews, so he's a facilitator. I like both those guys with Matthews. I don't know. There's just got to be something different with Willie and Tavares if that's what you're going to do. I don't think the mix of those three is great. I don't.
Tavares, the hands there was.
Oh my God, that was Oshawa Johnny, buddy. That was vintage cut to the middle. How you doing? Like, that's why he's scored almost like that's why he's first overall pick. That's why he's played so many games. That's why he scored so many goals. The man can finish when it goes near the slot, cut into the middle, sees the goalie following him, cross body, top corner. How you doing? Beautiful stuff.
Again, this is going to feel a little reactionary because it's early, but this isn't early in terms of Tavares and Nylander, and I just don't think that those guys mesh well.
They've never had chemistry. They've been playing together for 5 years now, and they've never played well
together. They're the couple that when they show up at the party again, you're like, why did they break up? Man?
Oh, here we go. This is going to be a fight night. This is going to be great. Oh, every little thing.
You two are great apart, but when you're together,
what a drag.
You're being passive aggressive with one another. Everyone's rolling their eyes. You can't wait for you to leave. God, one of you is gonna get a little drunker than the other as the other one's like staring over me, like rolling their eyes. It just doesn't work.
But like, it would be nice if like this coach's dice move isn't just to flip them. Like it's not please God, not let it be. I know what Rube's like. Hey guys. I know what'll fix it. Marner and Tavares this time.
I'm fine with that.
Matthews and Nylander. Just flip it. Just do the flip.
If it continues this way, I would be okay with the flip. Like, again, you and I are on different sides of the aisle on this.
Yeah.
I wanted 10 games of Nylander down the middle. I know you think that it's not him.
Neuters him.
Special. I wanted to see, and I've sent you these lines before, but what I really want to see was Nyes, Matthews, Marner, Tavares, Pacioretty, McMahon, and then Robertson, Nylander, Domi as your, like, let them cook offensive line that drives you crazy sometimes because they blow coverages and they just kill you defensively, but that they're really fun and engaging watching them. The fourth line as is. I just don't. Luke, we're trying to involve the chat. She said Luke chose Jessica Chapino. JT was great tonight. Agree, Jessica. He was
nice goal.
Solid. Yeah,
nice goal.
Fired up. That was the first time.
We go Squad Dog.
Yeah, yes, Squadron. He's fired in the chat. You know what though? This guy wrote in Irv Blitzer that it's like second line should be McMahon, Tavares, Marner. I actually think that McMahon and Tavares last year did have chemistry together. McMahon gets a goal tonight that, you know, pretty much anybody could score. He threw it to the net. And Markstrom was like, get on in there, you know, get in there behind me, puck. But
I will say there was something that I jumped out to me early in that first period. It's how they scored the goals is that like they were so perimeter based last night in terms of their chances, in terms of their shots. I bet you Berube in the pregame was like, you guys were on the perimeter all night. Get in the blue paint. Get to the net.
Bodies in front.
And Lorentz goes right to the front of the net on that one. Where was Pacioretty and jamming away? Matthews hammered somebody into the goalie going so hard to the front of the net. It was very clear for me that that was obviously something that they had a conversation about in the pregame, being like, boys, you guys were on the outside all night. You were beating it off of Montembeau's crest the whole night. Let's go to the front of the net. Let's bang away. And they did. They did a really good job tonight, and I was impressed. So I got to be careful trying to fall in love with Lorentz because he gets, you know, he's on the doorstep when Bobby McMahon shoots it in. He hammers that one home from the slot again. He's looked good, and he was involved in front of the net. So I like it.
He has the passion, as the kids say.
He does.
It's just very clear, and he can skate, which is not an attribute that is pervasive throughout this lineup.
That was a sick goal.
I know it is. He's around it. I don't know. It's hard not to like. I know it's just the most Toronto thing ever for everybody to just fall in love with the fourth line immediately. Like it's just the most cliche thing. People, you know, Leaf fans get hammered all the time for being like, you guys think you're going to win every year. It's just like every fan base is optimistic about trying to win every year. The thing that actually sets Leaf fans apart is that you put a fourth line together that can check and score, and people are going to be screaming outside the building like the Beatles are in town because
I look like Sundin on that goal. Coming through, big body coming through, backhand. Bang.
You're right.
Tell me that's not Sundin.
You know what? That's true. When Sundin's here right now, he's going to be promoting his book. He's doing my show on October.
Ours.
Oh, well, my show.
Yeah. He's coming in. He's coming in studio.
He's going to be doing shows. So I think in late October, something like that.
Somewhere.
Right. Yeah. So he'll be coming through. I'll be sure to ask him that question. Like, when you watch Lorentz,
how much of yourself do you see?
Do you see that 18 turn into 13 when he's ripping it up? I think that he won the YouTube Player of the Game poll, whatever that is. I didn't know we had that, but
Squad Dog crushing it tonight.
Squadron's all over it. Shout out Luke. He looks great. Okay, you ready for anything else big, or you want to go to some rapid fire topics?
I don't know what you consider as big, but I feel like we should hit Hildeby pretty hard here.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No. Do Hildeby. Hildeby's big. Yeah. You're right. I was going to move off to some way smaller stuff.
No.
Yeah. Do Hildeby.
But I mean, Hildeby, he gets called into action here. There was some question or whether or not they're going to go Stolars back to back, which you talked me out of rightly last night. And he comes in tonight and gave them a really, really solid, capable NHL goaltending game. Like he made a couple really big saves, couple 10-bellers, one or two, I think one on Hughes, that backhander on the power play, maybe. Is that when that was? Yep. Right before they scored at the end of the period. Yep.
Two really nice saves.
And the other ones are just solid. He still, to me, is a little bit twisty from here and there, like still has a couple of his AHL tendencies where there's some rawness to him. Clearly, he's still a young guy. He's still a prospect. But I don't think you could ask for a hell of a lot better when you call up your, fourth string goalie, third string goalie, whatever you want to rank him with Matt Murray. Clearly he jumped ahead of Murray. Like do you think they win this game with Matt Murray in net tonight? Like, I think he actually was good enough where you're like, wow, that was an impressive win. And you don't feel horrible putting him in the net. And for him, it's got to feel pretty sweet. No, like last year, Sheldon Keefe went on a back-to-back with Martin Jones in 2 straight games instead of giving you a start. So to go into his barn on their home opener and beat him, that's got to be pretty sweet for Hildeby. But yeah, I was impressed with the kid tonight. Didn't love the second goal, but what can you do?
Yeah, in fairness to Keefe, though, yeah, listen, again, he's a 23-year-old kid who has never played an NHL game before, and now he's being asked to step in and beat the former coach on the road in a back-to-back. Like, he's for him to not let in one goal that you're like, oh, whatever. Like the first one, no shot. The second one's not great, but it's a broken play. It's scrambles. Well, defenseman doesn't have a stick. Whatever. Like
blame Bauer for that goal. That's a brutal play.
Yeah, that's kind of a whatever play to me. That's not an egregious one. He was awesome, and not only was he awesome, I was thinking when the Leafs were up 4-2 in the game, they're trying to salt it away, and they're killing a penalty because Nylander takes just an all-time bozo penalty right there, and then honestly acts like a bit of a baby slapping the puck down the ice.
Jack Hughes, be softer. Like truly be softer. Like he just goes down like a bag of potatoes. He's diving all over the ice the whole night. It was a penalty. It's a penalty. But I get why Nylander's pissed. It's like, hey man, we're battling here. Like stay on your feet for 1 second. He's falling every time anyone goes anywhere near him.
Dude,
he's a noted diver. He's a noted diver. And I get why
his hands on his hips in the offensive zone when the other player had the puck.
It was a good dive for sure.
It's a what do you like? I don't even know what you're talking. Like
look at him.
Okay, yeah, whatever.
Pirouetting. He's pirouetting. It's a bit of a dive.
I thought the refs were pretty garbage tonight. Obviously, like there was some pretty suspect stuff, but like, yeah, that's a
look at he's holding the stick more than anything. Listen, it's a penalty.
Yeah,
and like I just get why Willie's because I get why Willie's pissed. Like,
sure, but I don't
stay
like
on your feet.
So what? Keep your composure. Don't slap the puck down the ice after that. You ended up with another penalty. Like,
it didn't come of it. So it's all good. It's all good. It didn't come of it.
Anyway, now I forgot my point. Oh yeah, they're trying to kill these penalties, and you're like, okay, crap, don't lose the game. And I was really never nervous about Hildeby in net going like, oh my God, he's going to let a bad one in. Oh my God, the kid looks nervous. Oh my God, he's been shaky or he looks like he's been swimming. He was just solid positionally. He looked like a good quality backup goaltender. Like, again, made a couple of good saves. I never really felt nervous. I'm really optimistic about his future. I love the flow out of the back of the bucket. I think it looks incredible. Like, so another win for the big goaltender aesthetic. But ultimately, I'm just excited by the idea. Like, listen, whatever the hell is going to happen with Wool here, it's not a great start. Again, for an injury-prone guy who I think they kind of panicked and gave $11 million to after they couldn't get the guy that was in net for the Devils tonight. But it's pretty encouraging that, for the first time since we were kids in Potvin, the Leafs look like they've been able to develop a couple of young goaltenders who can potentially actually play hockey for them, that they don't need to outsource the position for the next couple of years. Like there's a realistic scenario here where they've got their two guys of the future and they're both, like not homegrown in the sense of they're from Ontario, but homegrown talents from your system.
Yeah, 100%. And like guy has been one of their top prospects for a long time. And now he comes in here. He was excellent in the AHL last year. And that's kind of the progression of things that you want to see him sort of trickle in here and contribute when they need him throughout this season. And then in a couple more years, he's playing, 40 games for the Leafs. That's kind of the progression of these prospects. And you want to see it happen. And yeah, I was impressed by the kid tonight. It's just like that's full stop. Like it's a tough spot. Second half of a back-to-back against a supposedly really good team against a coach that wouldn't play you, and he stepped up and he responded. Good on him.
I don't mind the coach not playing him thing though.
Listen,
he was 22,
I was saying play Jones. I was saying play Jones in both. Like that was my take. But from his perspective, he thought he should have played. So for him to go in there and do that, it's good for him. Good for him.
Yeah, no, I'm happy for him, and you feel a little bit more confident. Like Elliot Friedman was making the point today that I think you and I were discussing yesterday, or that I was talking about on my show, which is you can't rush Wool back. No, I was talking about it with Corey Schneider today on my podcast, where it's like, you got to be super careful with this. Like, I understand that he's got the contract and he feels the pressure and he wants to get back out there with his teammates and he doesn't want to lose the 1A to Stolars, who might be able to play really well and play himself into the 1A job. But if you're Joe Wool, you got to make sure that this doesn't pop up again, because that's when, you suffer enough. You've already burned the bullet this year. You've already burned you got hurt time right out of the gate. You can't have another one pop up here where you're missing a significant amount of time because you pulled a groin or you hurt your back or something like that, or you're just not going to inspire any confidence.
I got to tell you, the boys are already talking. So
yeah, obviously
the boys are talking. So
yeah,
one more of these and the trust is totally gone. And it's probably already heading in that direction. So he's got to get in the net and play some games here.
I was thinking about that too tonight with Markstrom in net. I was never a Markstrom guy, and it wasn't because I don't think he's talented. It's because he's 34 years old and he wanted a contract, and the Leafs are going to have to tender him one. And I just didn't like the idea of handing over money to a goaltender that was his age, coming off of 2 down seasons in Calgary. And he's playing in front of a bad team. He's a good high pedigree goalie. He's had some spooky stuff in the past though, with like postseason
up and down for sure.
Yeah. So I wasn't in love with the idea, the way that like I was in love with the idea of going and getting Saros, right? If the Leafs went, hey, we're trading for Saros, I would have said, hell yeah, do the thing. I just wasn't excited by Markstrom. So when they didn't get him, I wasn't like, oh, boo-hoo, what are they going to do? It was fine. But then they went out and gave that money to Wool right away instead of waiting. And it just, you should have waited no matter what. Like,
no question.
And
should have waited.
I got to say, I'm kind of feeling the same way a little bit right now with Nyes, where maybe they made the right call of just being patient rather than tendering them a contract. Not that I don't think Nyes is going to be a good player. Like, I believe in Nyes. I like Nyes a lot. I think that he is one of those dudes that you'd be nervous about getting offer sheeted now that Armstrong broke that again. But I just, I would say that, it's okay to be patient with some of these young guys just because it burned you in the past with like uber superstar guys that had already proven themselves at super young ages with the core 4. So, last big one.
Well, I mean, the power play is.
Yeah, that's where I was going.
The power play is somehow 10 times worse than it was in the playoffs. Like, it looks worse now.
They have a shot?
I don't know. I don't know if they had a shot. I don't know. Like, I'm watching with anguish watching this power play. Like, it is a tough watch. Yeah. It kills the momentum. Like, it does the opposite of what it's supposed to do. And I don't know. Is it yips? Like, are they know it's bad and they can't do anything? Is it coaching? Like, Savvy comes in here with more eyes on him than anyone's ever had on a power play coach. It's like the most talked about thing, but they can't complete a pass. They can't gain the zone. They can't do anything.
Look better again when they came in.
Insane. It's mind numbing. Like, is it the mix of players? What is it? They're all so good. What is it?
They refuse to abandon that Tavares play for the entry.
They love the Tavares play.
Like, they're just like, the Tavares play. Oh my God.
Must do the Tavares.
Do the Tavares play.
Yes, do it. Let's do it. Yeah. One more time.
Please do the Tavares play one more time. So they won't abandon that. I think the mix of players is stale, and they're just to me, it's a little bit of a slump, but it sets up an interesting Saturday night of what has got to be the 10 most talented guys on 2 power plays in the history of hockey that suck at power plays, that are just mired in slumps. Go through the history of the game and find me 10 better players that make less sense why they're not converting on power plays than Pittsburgh's and Toronto's. Like, it's really like the something's got to give bowl. Like, that's what that one is for those power play units. To me, listen, you want to give it a bit of time and you don't want to seem like you're too reactionary, but if you're going to have the 2 units, to me, it's just pretty obvious. Give Nylander one, like, split them off, take Riley off it, put OEL up on the first one.
Yeah.
And then put like a Robertson or a Nyes or another big body out there that can play in front of the net and just mix it up. Just mix up the 2 units, go with 2 units and see what it does for you. Like, I think
I'm already at that. It's 2 unit time. Every Saturday night,
that top unit. I think those guys are sick of that top unit, the way that they play out there. Mix it up.
Top unit. It's time for a mix-up unit. Time for it. It's time. And I like stock up Oliver Ekman-Larsson. Guy can handle the puck.
Good. Yeah.
Can handle the puck. He's big. He knows how to distribute it. He's been solid for me. Like, from what I thought he was going to be through 2 games, like, slight stock up. So give him a shot on the top power play unit. Looks great.
Yeah, I agree. I just, again, if you want to breed this competition thing, make the power play units compete
against each other.
Make That's 2 perfect. Power play units where they compete for who's power play 1. Obviously, let's do it. All right, rapid fire time because we're going long tonight. love that Pacioretty got one.
Me too.
Even during the intermission, he said he was glad to get it off his back because he wants to show that he's not the player that he was a year ago. Good for him to be able to do it, feel like he's a part of the team, and just, like not have to have that be a story. Like, because it would have been if Pacioretty doesn't have a goal 8 games in the season, people here are talking about it. You and I are talking about it. It's obviously something. So good for him.
Shoveled it home. Good fight in front of the net. Puts it home. Good for him. Agree.
Good for him. What else do I got? Yeah. Ref talk. Yeah.
I don't really care. I've cooled off. The only thing, it's like the thing that always pisses me off the most about hockey officiating, it's like you call that phantom interference on Timmins, and then number 5 in red, Brendan Dillon, running around with flying elbows the whole night. Like that 1-on-9s through the middle of the ice. It's the ref staring right at it. It's like what you're actually calling for penalties versus what's actually dangerous. If this isn't unique to Leaf games, this is across all of hockey. This is just pure ref talk. That's the only thing that drove me crazy, but I really don't care enough.
It was not. I would say this: refs. If you're going to give me a score out of 5, they were 2 tonight. It wasn't It wasn't a well officiated game.
No, agreed. It wasn't. There was too many. Yeah, this wasn't too many penalties. Let the guys play a little bit. And if you're going to call Timmins for the softest interference ever, call Brendan Dillon for the flying elbow through the neutral zone. That would be my only request, please.
Other rapid fire item to me. I have already fallen deeply in love with Chris Tanev. Like,
welcome to the Tanev Island. He's so good, dude. He's so good. He's so good.
And Chris Tanev is, it's like you got to pay attention because there's nothing flashy about his game.
Not one thing that happens that's exciting, but it's all solid.
Here's what I would say to people. Just like watch it when it goes in their end and he's got to go back and retrieve the puck against forechecks.
Yep.
He is the coolest, calmest guy who makes the right plays, knows how to use his body, just never looks out of position so far. He's just as advertised, man. So
he had the Tanev hat trick tonight. 3 block shots +1, 0 assists, 0 goals. That's the Tanev hat trick.
Do it every
21 minutes played. Just
do it every night.
Not one thing happened when he was out there. Just not one thing. Retrieving pucks. That hair's flying. I don't know if you noticed this. This is a little thing.
Retrieving out.
When they're going to the timeout. After Willie takes after Jack Hughes falls down like a bag of potatoes by getting touched on the hip, they go to do the timeout, and Tanev's over there. He's got his arm around both guys, like it's like a college basketball huddle. His arm around McCabe and his arm around the other guy, right in the middle of the mix, saying something. Every guy that I've talked to about him, Kipper talks about it, that he is like sneaky, one of the best leaders in the league, one of the most beloved teammates, and you can just see it early. Guys trust him. So I've been pining for Chris Tanev on the Leafs for 3 seasons. We did a Labushkin pod last year where I literally pouted for 30 minutes about not getting him.
Came on, you were mad that we had to go back on.
Pouted.
And then
like,
you cried for half an hour.
I was just a sour little baby. Little baby boy, sour.
Dude, and that's one of the worst things about this business is, listen, we're just people, and sometimes you're just having a bad day, and you're not in a good mood.
Tanev so bad. I just crapped all over Labushkin, who was actually awesem for the Leafs last year. They got him.
Yeah,
he was
especially
totally fine.
Nothing for
him. Nothing.
Like,
and I was like, trade Cowan for Tanev. Who cares?
Yeah, exactly.
Anyways, but no, you're right.
All right,
he's a pleasure, and he's improved the defense. Like adding Ekman Larson and Tanev is 2 legit NHL defensemen, and it shows through 2 games. It shows
100%. Yep. All right, subscribe to this podcast, leave 5 stars, do us the favor because it really does help us out. Hit the thumbs up on YouTube, for God's sakes. Like, it takes 1 second. There's a million of you that watch it, and like none of you hit the thumbs up.
Okay.
Rude.
Before we go, I said this to you before the show, and as the show has been going on, it's here my little bug here. I'm wearing this Mets jersey.
Yeah.
Because I'm all in on the Mets. I'm loving their run.
Just buy that?
No, I've had it forever. I bought it at a like the Goodwill in Halifax, Nova Scotia in like 2012. I've had it forever.
It looks like you got it from a Goodwill in Halifax.
That's funny. But the top of it, I look like I'm a jailbird. I look
you
like
do.
I'm incarcerated in my own basement. So it's been bugging me the whole show. So I'm sure there'll be comments and they'll be like, is this guy in jail? But it's been I'm a little jailbird tonight.
You know what? Luke did a good job of keeping the negative.
Hot dog.
Luke just put the positive stuff in the chat today. But you said a lot of people want OEL Domi power play 1.
Yeah.
Tavares, Riley on power play 2. Listen, I don't think you're taking Tavares off the same one as Matthews and Marner because you got to win the draws.
Mm-hmm.
So I think those 3 guys are staying together, and it's a question of like Nylander and
I know.
Yeah.
We got to go. But like, how much better immediately does that unit get if it's OEL instead of Riley?
I don't know, but I want to see it.
Me too.
Like, I want to see it. I just want to see it. Anyways,
Yep.
thanks to everybody for listening. Thanks for watching us. Reach out to us anytime at JD Bunkis, at Sammy McKee. We will see you Saturday night during Thanksgiving from our parents' homes.
Parts unknown, our parents' basements.
Yeah.
Ryan Reeves is gonna be pissed about us because we're
literally going to be from our parents' basements, being like, "I didn't think they looked very good." It's like you didn't play with any effort tonight. I'm gonna go have more of my mama's snacks.
I want turkey, mama.
Yeah. All right. We'll see you Saturday night.